In 1907, we started an investigation of industrial accidents and workers' compensation. That investigation was made by an official of the department who was assistant professor in the University of Wisconsin at the time he was appointed. He went into the study somewhat extensively, and his report was turned over to a legislative committee appointed at the next session of the legislature, who thought the subject was of sufficient importance to require further inquiry, and a committee was appointed to make a further study of the subject. The chairman of that committee was Senator Brown of our state. He began holding hearings around various industrial centers, taking such data as he could find on the subject of accidents, employers' liability, and what the courts had done in various cases, which had been taken up through the courts and so forth. After holding a few hearings, he would call the committee together, they would go over the data, and they would draft a tentative bill which they thought would meet such problems as had developed. Those tentative bills would be sent out to the various labor organizations, to manufacturers, and to individuals who might be interested in the subject, and suggestions and criticisms were asked for. That was not only confined to our state, but it was sent all over the country, and when sufficient information had been gathered to warrant a further hearing, a new bill would be drafted. For 2 years, that was the course which was pursued. The result was the Workers' Compensation Act, such as we now have in the state of Wisconsin. Now, in the meantime, the Bureau of Labor had endeavored to solve the accident problem so far as possible in another way. We called a meeting of the representatives of the State Federation of Labor, representatives of the several manufacturers' associations, and representatives of insurance companies doing business in Wisconsin, who were inspecting factories and insuring employees against liability for damages and the like. We drafted something like 300 safety rules to be followed, which we thought we might put into operation, but we found that something was lacking. In the first place, I do not believe the employers of our state fully realized the situation. They did not realize the number of accidents that were happening, and in the second place, the old law was in our way. The old law, or theory, on which we had gone in legislating against accidents was the enumeration of dangerous points and places. For instance, we started out with a law on safety. The first thing that we considered necessary was to secure the help of someone who had done a great work in the line of safety. We searched the country over, from Maine to California, to find out what some of the large institutions had done in promoting the welfare and safety of their employees and starting him out on our inquiry. We did this, and the next step was to appoint our advisory committee. We requested the State Federation of Labor to recommend to us 2 persons to serve on that committee. We also requested the various state manufacturers associations to recommend to us 2 of their members to serve on the committee. The Industrial Commission then took 2 men that had done considerable work on safety lines in 2 of the largest factories in Wisconsin to represent it on the committee. In the meantime, a mutual insurance company under the Workers' Compensation Act had been organized in our state. And we placed a representative of that company on this committee. And we started them to work in the city of Milwaukee. Okay.
Oops.